Welcome back to the channel. This is 20 Storm and you are watching third part of What If Naruto Became Heir of No Life Prince. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
The Land of Snow. Naruto slams his boot heel into the left eye of Kazahana, the upcoming former daimyo of the Land of Snow. Behind them were Naruto's queens feasting on the remains of Dot's guards, one of whom was on her knees in complete and utter terror, fear shining in her green eyes. "Yum monster," Dot hisses, struggling to get the boot off his face. Naruto smirks and performs a pirouette on Dot's face, causing the man to scream in agony and clutch his shattered face as Naruto backflips away. The blonde lands in a perfect 10 stance, arms raised, his gaze shifting to Dot's final guard. His skin is pale, he has a thin and bony face, teal eyes, and a narrow nose. He also has a Hitai 8 in the Hapori style, with long purple hair in a ponytail down his back and a long, thin strand of purple hair hanging over the right side of his face. "Damn you," says the man. Naruto grins with a callous grin as his Colt forms in his right hand. "Now, Nader Rga. There's no need to be upset with me," he says this while firing a shot into Dot's right leg. Dot screams and falls to one knee, his cut-up face on display, but Naruto inserts one between his eyes, causing him to crumple. "Yugo, bring me Fubuki," says Naruto, slipping the Colt into his back waist. As blood covers Yugo's mouth and chest armor, the pink-hair snow ninja shakes in fear. Nader glares angrily at Naruto, but the wooden vines keep him rooted to the ground, his gaze averting to Mizor's corpse, which Anko is currently devouring as some sort of snake creature. "Now, before you die, Nader Rga. You will witness firsthand your fate," Naruto says as he slowly extends his hand to Fubuki. As she slowly takes his hand and he spins her around to face Nare, the blonde vampire's blue eyes glow and Fubuki's green eyes glaze over. As his right hand grasps her under her chin, Naruto rips open the neck and shoulder of Fubuki's uniform, exposing her neck. Naruto covers Fubuki's mouth with his hand as he bites into her neck, causing her to scream in agony as he drinks her life away. Fubuki's eyes flutter in pain and gradually glaze over as she falls from Naruto's grasp and lands on the floor with a blank expression. So she died with a smile on her face. "That is not going to happen," Naruto says as he walks towards Nader. He glares at the blonde but spits at his feet as Naruto pulls his Colt out and places it on Nor's head. "Go and protect your master in hell," Naruto says, blowing open Nare's head. Numerous hungry tendrils burst from Naruto's body, dragging Fubuki and Dot's corpses towards his breaking down body. The Ice Queens stare in awe as Naruto absorbs all three bodies. "I'll never get used to seeing that," Hana says, and the others nod. "My clones have dealt with the rest of Dot's forces," says Naruto, standing tall and rolling his neck. "The princess has reclaimed her kingdom," Anko says. "And all it took was a genjutsu of us and her broken. Violated and killed," says Hana. "Imagine if Gramps assigned a genin team," Naruto says as he shrugs his shoulders and lights a cigarette. "They are all unprepared. Perhaps Guy's team," the Kurenai muses. "And even that is pushing it. It's possible that Kakashi-senpai pushed for it. If it hadn't been for Ney getting to her first, Yugoslavia as a state. Regardless. We've finished here, and Lady Koyuki has returned to her home. So let's go find the mischievous princess," Naruto says, and they all nod. A week later, Naruto and his queens stood in front of Koyuki Kazahana, the rightful daimyo of Snow Country, which had been renamed Spring Country. Koyuki's uncle desired the treasure she kept safe, which was actually a key to a heat generator. The generator was a farewell gift from her late father, Setsu Kazahana, to bring spring to their icy homeland. "Thank you for restoring Koyuki-sama to her rightful throne," says Sandei Asama, her devoted guard. Koyuki nods slightly to the five and blushes slightly towards Naruto. Thank you very much. You were able to thaw my frozen heart, she claims. Take it in stride, Koyuki. We're all hoping for someone to come and save us, says Naruto. Inside is a document about a possible trade agreement with Konoha, Sandai says as he approaches Naruto and bows at the waist. You are very kind. We'll see each other through, Naruto says, bowing at the waist with his queens once more. Do you have to leave so soon? Asks Koyuki. Unfortunately, yes. In Konoha, we all have obligations that require our attention. We will, however, have our Chunin exams in about 2 months. Maybe you can come to the finals a month later, says Naruto. I will think about it and thank you again for saving my country, says Koyuki, and the five excuse themselves. She'll be a good ally for us and a safe haven if we need it, Kurenai says as they leave the palace. It's always a good idea to have contingencies, Naruto muses as they approach the harbor. Victoria, dressed in purple business attire and a ruby necklace around her neck under a black coat, was waiting for them with one of Gado's old ships. We are ready to depart, she says. Good, and have the captain set a course for hot water, Naruto says as he and Victoria board the ship. Well, that was a fruitful mission, Anko reflects. Indeed. I learned more heightened jutsu and you all gained more souls, Naruto says, his clothes melting away to reveal a pair of shorts and a white long-sleeved shirt. The four queens undress similarly and climb into bed with their man. Should we fool around before sleeping? Anko coos, settling atop the blonde. First, get some rest. The swaying is grating, Anko pouts but settles on his mid-chest as Naruto says. Yugao grabs Naruto's left arm, Kurenai grabs his right, and Hana moves to his waist above his manhood. A clone appears and seals the room, allowing them to sleep and giving orders to the crew and Victoria. Tenten looks around with wide eyes. What was that? Those women. Why couldn't I see their faces? She mutters, shifting her sheets and discovering her panties soiled. Cold shower, then a workout, Tenten reasoned. After a shower, the weapons mistress takes a few laps around the village, but her mind is plagued by her dream. Oh, good morning, Ten. Yells a familiar voice. Tenten turns to run backwards slightly when she sees Guy and Lee. Morning, she says as the two pass her. Tenten completes her workout and returns home, where she finds her adopted parents awake. Netsuko, Ten mother, Chans inquires. She has dark hair and eyes and a slim build. I couldn't sleep either. So I went for a few laps around the village, Tenten says, looking at her father Genbo. He's a big man with gray hair and blue eyes, but he's a big kid at heart. Is there something wrong, Tenten? Genbo inquires, but she shakes her head. Nothing. I'm just wondering if I'm doing enough for the exams, Tenten expresses himself. Due to Lee's lack of chakra and Neji's reliance on his family's taijutsu, her team was taijutsu-oriented. She was focused on weapons and ignored other aspects of ninja skills, except finjutsu for her weapons. I'm confident you'll succeed. However, you do not need to rush to get promoted. I recall seeing you after that dreadful mission. Thank you, Kami, for the Anbu, Natsuko says, and Tenten recalls the Frost mission. Her team was ambushed by missing Nin from Kumo, and Neji flew into a rage, jeopardizing the mission. Fortunately, Naruto swooped in and saved them, or more specifically, her. Tenten's breath has a few hiccups. Those bright blue eyes were similar to Naruto's. Did I have a dripping dream about him? She pondered. You're all red, Ten-chan. Are you certain you're okay? Tenten waves her hands in response to Natsuko's question. And no, I'm fine. I'm going to take a nap and then meet with my team later, Tenten quickly excuses herself. Perhaps I should go see Naruto, Tenten thought as he lay down for a nap. Tenten stands with her team a few hours later, Lee ranting about youth with Guy and Neji standing with his eyes closed. Tenten confessed to herself that she had a crush on the Hyuga clan member, but his obsession with fate ruined any and all chances. He despises Hinata for being a member of the main family, but he still bows to her. He claims that fate cannot be changed, but he does so by despising her and wishing to harm her, Tenten pondered. She trained with her weapons for Team 3 every time, while Guy practiced taijutsu with Neji and Lee. Guy-sensei. I'm curious if you could teach me some ninjutsu, Tenten inquires, and Guy cups his chin. So, my young student. I don't use ninjutsu, and that would be unfair to Lee. Who says they can't? Perhaps you could pay a visit to my competitor, Guy states. Tenten nods slowly, but internally she is irritated. I believe I will, Guy-sensei. Do you have any idea where he is? She claims. Guy responds, training ground 7 with his team, and Tenten excuses herself. The kunoichi with the bun hair travels to training ground 7 and meets Team 7. What are you doing here, Tenten? Hinata inquires while performing some juken katas. I'm on the lookout for Kakashi-sensei. Guy-sensei asked me if he could teach me some ninjutsu, Tenten elaborates. Why should Kakashi teach someone from a different team? Sasuke asks. Aren't we all Konoha ninja? Karen asks, perched on one of the wooden stumps. Ma. I don't see why not, but with Chunin exams coming up in 2 months. I would hate to give another team an advantage, Tenten frowns as Kakashi reads his ICHA. How about me then, Naruto says as he walks up. Tenten's cheeks turn pink as she returns her gaze to Naruto. I don't see why not. Will it work? Naruto's reserves allow him to use a lot of ninjutsu, says Kakashi. That is perfectly acceptable. Thank you very much, Kakashi-sensei, Tenten says, and Kakashi gives her his signature eye smile. Follow me then, Naruto says, and Tenten follows the blonde. So what brought this on? He asks. I'd like to be better prepared for the exams. I believe I am overly specialized, Tenten responds as they come across an empty training ground. Naruto takes a chakra paper from his vest. We need to know your elemental affinity first. Just putting some chakra into this paper, he says as he hands it to Tenten. Raiden, Tenten says she channels her chakra and the paper wrinkles to represent a lightning nature. Interesting. Raiden can be channeled using ninja wire or your weapons. Naruto walks up to a tree and kicks it, knocking some leaves down. So, how does this work? Tenten inquires. Naruto's hands tent the leaves, but he holds one up, saying, you must be able to crinkle the leaf with your chakra by changing it to Raiden, and splitting the leaf with his FTON. Tenten says, easier said than done, as Naruto adjusts his sunglasses. You might be able to learn a jutsu by the time the exams begin. I'll check in on you once a week to see how you're doing, says Naruto. Right. Thanks Naruto, Tenten says as she excuses herself to rejoin her team. Yugu drops down in her full Anbu gear after Tenten has left. Dragon has called a meeting, she says. Naruto removes his sunglasses and puts on his Anbu mask. Let's go, Neko, he says, slipping it on and disappearing. Anbu headquarters. As you are all aware, the Chunin exams are in 2 months. Which means increased patrols with the influx of visitors and foreign ninja. Dragon begins, sitting with several of her captains. However, one of you will play a very special role in the exams. Specifically, you, Kaiketsuki. If necessary, Sandame-sama would like you to be the proctor for the second round preliminaries. Also his guard for the finals, Dragon continues. On your order, Naruto says, his voice distorted, his arms folded and his hood covering his face. What if there are no preliminaries? Rhino wonders. Then he'll take care of my paperwork. If they happen, Rhino, you're to blame, the dragon says, eliciting a few silent sniggers. Senpei is rumored to be joining his rookie team. Yuhi and Sarutobi are both doing the same thing, Neko expresses himself. They want to show off the last Uchiha, Kuma says, folding his large arms. Of course, it's home turf. Our team's padding will help him advance to the second round, the owl responds. Regardless, it is our responsibility to protect the great tree. Dismissed, Dragon says as the captains file out of the room. Kaiketsuki, Rhino says, pausing to turn to face him. There are no hard feelings about doing Dragon's work, Rhino says, but Naruto smirks behind his mask. True, but you should be aware of Rhino. Never ever bet against me, with Leaf Shunshin, Naruto says and vanishes. Make sure your handwriting is perfect, Dragon says as he taps Rhino on the shoulder behind their mask. Rhino freezes. Dragon arrives at their office to find Naruto waiting for them. You've received your orders. What you dislike about them, says the dragon. No. You're just picking on Rhino. I almost feel sorry for myself, Naruto says, while the dragon snorts. I hear the pervert is on his way, Dragon says as he takes a seat at their desk. He is unaware of my changes or that I am in Anbu. Gramps decided it was best not to tell him, Naruto muses as he smokes a cigarette and lights it with a silver Zippo. He most likely believes you are a new genin in need of his guidance. You are, however, a near S-rank shinobi who is married to 4 women, Dragon makes a comment. True, Naruto muses as he pulls 2 photos from his coat and tosses them to Dragon. Dragon's breath catches when he sees a photo of a man with spiky orange hair and purple eyes with a rippled pattern. The second image depicts a woman with blue hair and amber eyes, as well as several piercings and a flower in her hair. How accurate is this? The dragon inquires. Confirmed. AIM is now ruled by a man named Pain, not Hanzo. Danzo had dealings with the salamander but stopped doing so years ago. The rain in the village, according to Ne, is laden with chakra. So I dispatched clones in their place. The rain only stops on Sundays once a week. So I took advantage of the situation and sent them in. Naruto begins. Konin, or Lady Angel, is the name of the woman. Pain is the name of the man. The cloak is particularly intriguing. That looks familiar, Naruto continues. Akatsuki. I've heard rumors about some group wearing those colors, says the dragon. We'll have to speak with our renowned spy master, Naruto says as he rises to his feet. True. So, how did you obtain the photos? The dragon inquires. Once the clones appeared, I used the henge, Naruto says as he walks out of Dragon's office. Over the next 2 months, Naruto divided his time between helping his team and Tenten. Karen learned a few Doden Jutsu with her Kage Bunshin, while Tenten completed her Raiden training and learned to channel Raiden through her weapons. Naruto also discovered that his queens were influencing Tenten's dreams and causing the girl to gravitate toward him, which he didn't mind and allowed. 2 months later, Chunin examines Road 1. Team 7 travels to Konoha Academy, with the redhead peering between her teammates. When they walk into the school, they notice the various teams milling around and making their way upstairs to the 3rd floor. However, there was a scene on the 2nd floor, but marked 3rd, as several people argued with 2 people about being allowed in. Genjutsu, Karen says quietly to Hinata, who nods. Hey, take down that stupid genjutsu, Sasuke exclaims, startling his teammates. As the 3 becomes a 2 and they make their way up to the next floor, several of the genin grumble. Team 7 arrives on the 3rd floor and discovers Kakashi waiting for them. You can now officially begin the Chunin exams. These exams are team-based, and if any of the 3 of you did not show up, you would have been barred, says Kakashi. Now then. Hinata. Sasuke. Karen. Good luck, Kakashi says as he steps back, allowing Team 7 members to enter the exam hall. They seemed poised, says a voice, and Kakashi looks up to see Naruto slinking out of the ceiling. You didn't say anything to them, Kakashi observes. Naruto tilts his head, his face hidden behind his Anbu mask. There was nothing that could help them. Furthermore, Sasuke believes this is simple. If a dobi like me can pass, he says as he slinks back, his voice fading. If you still believe that, Sasuke, you are in for a rude awakening, Kakashi thought as he returned his gaze to the closed door. Inside Team 7, many genin were loitering around, causing Karen to sigh and calm herself down from the key being thrown around. Sasuke-kun, 2 voices yell, and Karen notices Ino glomping Sasuke while Sakura stares at her. Karen decides to ignore the fangirls and look around the room before approaching Team 3 in a corner. What do you want? Asks Neji coldly. Leave her alone, Tenten says, and Karen gives him a glare. Is your team prepared? Tenten asks. As we can be. Kakashi-sensei gave us 3 days of rest, but Naruto only gave me 1, Karen says, slightly blushing. How is Naruto doing? I haven't seen him in a while, Tenten says, much to the surprise of her teammates. Karen was about to respond when a fight broke out between someone wearing glasses and Otto's genin. A large puff of smoke, however, erupts at the front of the room. Enough. There will be no fighting before the 2nd round. Calm down or you'll be kicked, says a man. He has several scars on his face and is dressed in a gray uniform and a black trench coat. Sorry, we got a little excited, one of them apologizes, his face bandaged. He's dressed in a large poncho with long sleeves, a snake-patterned scarf around his neck, a straw raincoat peeking out from behind his scarf, and a large amplifier on his right arm. Whatever the case may be, everyone please take a seat. My name is Ibiki Morino, and I am the proctor for the Chunin exam's 1st round, as 12 similarly dressed ninja stand behind him but without coats, the man declares. Now that I have your attention, take a number and proceed to your assigned seat. The tests will then be administered, Ibiki declares, holding the number 1. The sound of an electric guitar echoes near the main gate of the Forest of Death, with the source being Naruto on a raised platform, performing a haunting solo. Anko sat on the platform as well, a dango stick in her mouth and her body swaying to the music. To her ness, she's dressed in black form-fitting pants with heeled kunoichi boots and shin guards. A tight purple dress shirt with a low-cut corset vest that pushes up her breasts and a gray trench coat draped over her shoulders, complete with black gloves. How's the 1st round going? Asks Naruto. Anko closes her right eye to see the room through one of her snakes. Everything is going well. The rookies are still around. Oh, Ibiki is almost finished. I'd better get going, she says before disappearing. Naruto sighs and absorbs the guitar into his body. I should go too, he says before exploding into a crow murder. Back at the academy, Ibiki examines the remaining genin but notices the air cooling. Ho. She's early, he thinks. Hey, why is it getting cold? Kiba exclaims as Orochimaru begins to whimper. As Ki fills the room, the lights dim and the room darkens, shocking many of the genin. Ibiki. You let 26 teams pass, a voice croons from nowhere. As snakes begin to make their presence known, several screams erupt. What are snakes doing here? Screams Sakura. Anko Mitarashi isn't capable of such things, Kabuto thinks as he adjusts his glasses with a hidden serious look. But don't worry. I'll make an effort to reduce that figure by at least half, says the voice. The snakes begin to swirl and undulate together until they take on the form of humans, but they die as Anko appears, her eyes glowing purple and the whites of her eyes a black void. "Hello, foolish mortals," croons Anko. Many of the genin were immediately turned off as fear seemed to run rampant, but everything quickly returns to normal with Anko in front. "My name is Anko Mitarashi, and I'm the Chunin exam's second round proctor. Now come with me to my playground," Anko states. "Where the hell is your playground?" one genin exclaims, and Anko smiles broadly. "The Forest of Death," says Anko. The genin were standing at the main gate of the Forest of Death about a half hour later. This is the location for the second round. The Forest of Death, or the 44th Training Ground, is my playground. Anko begins and reaches for her coat. "Before we begin, I'll need to distribute these consent forms, which you will sign. This exonerates our respective villages in the event of death. The second round includes a 5-day survival mission." Anko keeps going. "Survival," says Ino. Anko reaches into her coat and pulls out 2 scrolls, one marked Heaven and the other Earth. The Forest of Death is comprised of 44 locked gates, with a river and a tower located approximately 10 kilometers away in the center. One of these scrolls will be given to each team. Within 5 days, you must reach the center tower with both scrolls. It is entirely up to you how you obtain them, Anko elaborates. "That doesn't seem so tough," Kiba exclaims, but his cheek swells as Anko appears behind him. The snake mistress licks some blood from Kiba's cheek, frightening her harem sister's brother. "I respectfully disagree. Your blood tastes almost as good as your sister's." Before returning to the main gate, Anko says. "Now, there are some ground rules for this round. Bring both scrolls to the center tower without opening them before you arrive. Finally, all of your teammates must pass. So even if you get both scrolls, you will fail without your teammates, according to Anko." "What about food?" exclaims Choji. "Tough. There is plenty of food. Sign your paperwork and come get your scrolls," Anko responds. The genin converse, but they are unaware that a certain blonde vampire is watching them. "They seem to know the rules, but so do I," he thinks, shifting his gaze to a redhead with raccoon-like eyes. Grr. Shukaku's host is like that. Those dark circles under his eyes are a dead giveaway. Kyubi adds his thoughts. "Gaara no Sabaku. Son of the Yondaime Kazekage," Naruto muses, smirking as he notices Gaara looking in his general direction. "He must sense you, Kyubi," says Naruto, and Kyubi snorts. "Like Tanuki compares to me, let alone you," Kyubi remarks. "Ah. So you think about me," Naruto says, smiling as he notices Karen staring at him. "I'll need to keep my distance, but I'll be shadowing them," Naruto reasoned, his gaze fixed on a member of the Kusa team. Soon, each team will have their own scroll and will line up at their respective gates. "You better keep your senses honed, Uzumaki," Sasuke says as Team 7 arrives at Gate 12. "I'll also have my Byakugan," Hinata adds. As the time passes and the horns blare, one of the proctors unlocks the gate and checks his watch. As the gates open to begin the second round, each team rushes inside. Screams soon fill the forest as the second round gets underway, but Anko sits in the shade of the booth near the main gate. "Music to my slow-beating heart," thought Anko. "Oi Mitarashi!" screams a voice, and Anko opens her eyes to see Kotetsu. "What I'm trying for here is a nap," Anko exclaims. "We have 3 bodies," Kotetsu says, as Anko furrows her brow. "There is something strange about them," he adds. Anko sighs and rises to her feet to put on her coat, saying, "Lead the way," as she follows Kotetsu. According to their IDs, they're from Kusa, but as you can see, the faces are missing, Azumo says as they come across 3 bodies near some Buddha statues. Anko tsks and growls quietly as the whites of her eyes bleed black. This is a serious situation. Please notify Lord Third. Also, inform him that at least 2 Anbu squads must be mobilized, she yells, and they both vanish. Orochimaru is in the forest, Naruto. He's posing as a member of the Kusa team, Anko pondered. I had the same thought. I'll spend some time with him, Anko smirks as Naruto responds. Good hunting, my fox, Anko says. With his Sharingan glowing in the shadows, Sasuke glares angrily at the Kusa ninja named Shior. I still have to murder him. I will not perish here, he thought as he slipped a kunai into his mouth. Shior licks his lips, his gaze shifting slightly to Hinata as the Hyuga tries to recover from his ki blast. Has your Uchiha blood awakened Sasuke-kun? Sneers Shior. As the Kusa ninja sends a burst of chakra, Sasuke leaps across the branches towards Shior. Shior dodges as Sasuke maneuvers to a branch and launches off with a battle cry. The last devoted Uchiha unleashes a barrage of punches and kicks, but Shior blocks them all evenly and Sasuke keeps up. I see, Sasuke thought as he dodged and countered Shior's attacks. Shior accelerates, but Sasuke maintains his pace and counters with back-to-back fireballs, forcing Shior to change tactics and attack Sasuke through the tree branch. He's pretty good, Shior thought as he released another burst of chakra. Sasuke dodges as it slashes through a large branch and closes the gap, grabbing Shior from behind and throwing her into a plummeting piledriver. Sasuke leaps back as Shior remains rooted in place, but he gasps as Shior dissolves into mud. Kawarimi, Sasuke thought as he dodged a flurry of kunai. Shior catches Sasuke as he lands with a combination of punches, knees, and elbows after he uses ninja wire to propel himself around a large tree. Shior is distracted as Sasuke leaps back, tossing shuriken with ninja wire attached. Is this it? Exclaims Shior. Kaden. Raika no Jutsu, Sasuke yanks hard and pins Shior to a tree while flashing signs to stop at Tiger. Shior is engulfed in flames as he screams in agony, the flames blowing a hole in the large tree. The flames die down as Sasuke tries to hold his breath as Hinata approaches, but both of them gasp as Shior easily breaks the wire before performing a paralysis jutsu on them. I'm impressed by your Sharingan use, but it pales in comparison to your brother, Sasuke-kun, Shior says, a portion of his face melting away to reveal pale white skin. Shior touches Sasuke's Hitai 8, revealing a musical note instead of the Kusa symbol. However, you can be so much more than him, he says, his voice changing. Who are you? Asks Sasuke. Shior holds up their heaven scroll and says, my name is Orochimaru, but his neck suddenly extends like a snake. Hinata exhales as Sasuke screams in agony from the bite of Shior or Orochimaru on his neck. Seek me out for more power, Sasuke-kun, Orochimaru says after unlatching the scroll and dropping it to the ground. Do enjoy my gift, Orochimaru says as he sinks into the earth. Hinata activates her Byakugan and scans the area as she retrieves their scroll. Where are you, Karen? She wonders, keeping an eye on Sasuke. Sasuke and Hinata were fighting for their lives at the same time. Karen was dealing with another Konoha Genin team. Can we take her? One of them asks. He has brown hair and brown eyes and is dressed casually with a weapon pouch. Karen quickly creates 5 clones and charges the Genin. They're just illusions, the Kunoichi with brown hair and gray eyes says. Karen smirks as the clones kick each Genin in the face, flashing several signs before coming to a halt at Heir. Sweden. Miserapa, Karen says as she fires a water blast, knocking out the Genin. Karen dashes away to find her teammates, but she freezes as a thick blanket of ki erupts. Kukuku, says a voice. Who are you? Karen asks Orochimaru, who is standing behind her. With a smirk on his face, Orochimaru licks his lips before launching his head from a wide sword swipe, causing Karen to gasp as Naruto lands in front of her, but Orochimaru turns to snakes. Go Karen, says Naruto, and the redhead leaps away. Naruto rolls his neck as Orochimaru reappears and looks him in the eyes. Hello Naruto-kun, he says. Snake. You're a coward for running away from me. It doesn't matter. We'll see each other again soon. Oh, and one more thing. Anko says hello and looks forward to mounting you on my wall. Orochimaru melts into mud, says Naruto. Naruto sheathes his Chikudo but returns his gaze to Karen. I told you to go, he says. I know, but I was worried, says Karen. Come on. I'll take you to your team, Naruto says as he ruffles his blonde hair and adjusts his Anbu mask. They're in the hollowed tree, Naruto thought, but his eyes narrowed as he noticed 3 people nearby. Karen lands in the clearing and walks over to the tree, where she notices Sasuke laying motionless and sweating. Hinata, Karen says, and the heiress raises her head. Where have you been? Hinata asks, her tone slightly angry. Karen sighs as she kneels next to Sasuke. After being blown away by the wind, I came across a giant bear and then another genin team. I was able to knock them out and obtain their scroll, she explains by displaying the earth scroll. At the very least, you were useful. We were attacked by someone named Orochimaru, who left a mark on Sasuke, Hinata explains, but Karen's frown is missed. We'll stay here until morning and then head to the tower, Hinata says. How about Sasuke? Karen asks as she checks his vitals. Hinata lowers her gaze to the last Uchiha. He's beginning to settle down. He should have awoken by then, Karen slowly nods as she says. The following morning. Team Dosu, led by Dosu, and his teammates Zaku Abumi and Kinsuchi, were keeping a close eye on Team 7's hollowed tree. When are we going to strike? I want to befriend that redhead, according to Zaku. He has spiky black hair and dark eyes, and he wears a beige shirt with 2 black stripes and 3 kanji for death printed on it. With a snake-patterned scarf around his neck, he is a Hapori Hittite under the cloth rather than connected to the metal plate. Perhaps we can sell the Hyuga's eyes, Kin suggests. She has fair skin, black eyes, and very long black hair that is tied with a violet ribbon near the end. A pale green flak jacket-style vest, snake-patterned pants, a skirt over it, and a snake-patterned scarf around her neck. Those are some intriguing ideas. But I'm not going to let that happen, a voice sings. All 3 auto ninja freeze, but before they can react, black roots encircle their limbs. What the fuck is this? Zaku screams as his right arm snaps in half. This is for your feedback on my family. Instead of killing you 3, I'll offer some advice. The curse mark is on the person you were sent to kill. Dosu's breath catches and his voice hisses. Kin looks around in terror, but her eyes widen as a glowing eye emerges from the bark's shadows, along with a white mask that only shows one eye. Why wouldn't Orochimaru-sama tell us? Kin wonders. To be honest, I don't care. Now, hurry up before I devour your souls, as mouths open in the shadows, a voice hisses. Dosu looks around with a wide eye as the roots release them. Let's go, he says. What? Are we going to let some voice stop us from killing Sasuke? Zaku yells as he clutches his broken arm. Dosu's gaze narrows at Zaku, fool. Your arm is broken, and the Uchiha bears the curse. That is something we cannot fight. For the time being, we'll take a step back and inform Orochimaru-sama about this mysterious entity, he claims. Zaku tsks with a silent growl and swears to kill whoever broke his arm. Come on, says Dosu, and the 3 leap away. After a few minutes, Naruto emerges from the ground, just as dark chakra fills the area as Sasuke emerges from the hollowed tree. Let's see how he does. My clone should have kept the others hidden, says Naruto. Yes. Yes, with this power, I can kill him, Sasuke thought as he stood in the clearing, black markings running down his body and purple chakra wafting off his body. Hand over your scroll or die, one of the nondescript genin from AIM shouts in front of Sasuke. As one of them charges but locks eyes with Sasuke and freezes, Sasuke continues to admire his power. Fool, sneers Sasuke, lunging forward and slitting his throat with a kunai. The other two charge Sasuke, but the Uchiha weaves several signs and stops at Tiger, shouting, Kaiten, Jikaki no Jutsu, and incinerating both. Sasuke grins as he listens to their dying cries, but his new power fades as quickly as it appeared, and the dark markings fade. With several gulping breaths, Sasuke falls to his knees, thinking, this power. I will make it mine, before slowly rising to his feet and returning to the tree. However, Sasuke was unaware of the three corpses disintegrating into smoke. He didn't even think twice about killing them. The curse mark evokes dark thoughts while also providing an intoxicating sensation. Standing on a tall tree, Naruto muses. Report, he says as two Anbu with the designations Crane and Mantis land on either side of him. We lost sight of the target, says Crane. He is, after all, a snake, Naruto muses, recalling his clone's memories. Tokubetsu Jonin Mitarashi is on his way to the tower as we speak and has requested that the Hokage be informed, Mantis adds. Good, I'll go there myself. Maintain strict patrols and investigate how the snake got into the garden, Naruto says as they both nod and walk away. The pieces are beginning to move, Naruto thought as Karen and Hinata exited the tree to take a look around. Anko sits on a blue sofa with two Anbu in one of the upper-level rooms. It's distasteful, but we can't cancel the exams because of Orochimaru, she says. What do you mean? Asks one Anbu. Before Anko can say anything, the door bursts open, revealing one of the first-round proctors. What is it? We're having a meeting, she exclaims. I'm sorry, ma'am, but you need to see this, says the proctor, holding a tape. Video. Anbu says the second time. The proctor kneels and inserts the tape, which shows the Suna team entering the tower earlier. Look at the time, says the proctor. Anko's eyes narrow and her breath catches. This is correct, she says. Yes. It was taken 1 hour and 37 minutes after the round started, according to the proctor. Interesting. They broke the record by 4 hours, says Anko. Yes, they finished the exams in 97 minutes. That is unprecedented. They cannot be at the genin level, but Anko laughs, says the proctor. It isn't just that. Examine the redhead carefully, Anko says, and the proctor looks closer, his eyes widening in surprise. Foo. You can see now that he is free of any damage or dirt, Anko states. In the exams, we had a very interesting fellow. Despite the fact that he has evil eyes, Anbu says the second time. Anko walks over to the large windows and opens them. Regardless. Continue your search for that snake, she says, and both Anbu and the proctor leave. No joy, Anko says as a swarm of crows bursts through the window and forms Naruto. He ran, says Naruto, rolling his neck and settling into the sofa. He gave Sasuke the curse mark, but it's different from yours, Naruto says, and Anko's eyes narrow. This is not good. We'll have to remove the Uchiha from the exams, Anko states. You already know the old man won't. He is the last remaining loyal Uchiha. If he is pulled, it will reflect poorly on Konoha's image. Furthermore, once Senpai sees it, he will seal it up, Naruto explains as he removes his coat. You want to hear something interesting? Says Anko, taking a seat next to him. Naruto shifts his weight and places his head in Anko's lap. The Suna team completed the race in 97 minutes. The redhead had no visible scars, Anko states. That was an unavoidable conclusion. He's the Jinchuriki of the Ichibi, Naruto says, causing Anko's breath to catch, and he's also Orochimaru's linchpin. He continues. Anko frowns and strokes Naruto's shaved hair. I think we should tell the Hokage about the invasion, she says. No, this is Konoha's punishment. Innocents will perish, but it is time for Konoha to get off their high horse and the old man to recognize that his actions have brought this about. Looking at the wall, Naruto says. After 3 days. Karen stands with the other Chunin candidates as the Hokage speaks about the true meaning of the exams, with the proctors and jonin of each team standing behind them. Perhaps I should explain the third round rules, a voice says, catching the genin off guard. As Naruto lands in a crouch, Hiruzen puffs his pipe and raises his right arm to meet his shoulder. Good ahead then, Hiruzen says. The genin murmur amongst themselves as Naruto peers out from behind his beaked hood. He now wears a black dress uniform jacket with a red lining along the torso and 2 tails on the lower half of the coat. His outfit was completed with black pants, knee-high leather boots with a high heel, and a blood-red dress shirt with a black tie and suit vest. Naruto puts his hands on Hiruzen's arm and lifts to balance before leaning forward and down into his boots. Naruto reaches up and rams his hand into the shadows of his hood, all the way to his elbow, before slowly pulling back. My name is Kaiketsuki, and I will be the proctor of these preliminaries, Naruto says, revealing his pale white mask with no mouth or nose but a black eye patch over the right eye and a black tear streak in the left socket. Shikamaru preliminary questions. Yes. 21 of you passed, Naruto says, raising his index finger, but that is too many for the third round, he adds, raising his middle finger. As Lord Third stated, the finals are held in front of a large number of important guests. I'm sure none of them wants to watch boring matches with weak people. Seeing some angry faces, Naruto smirks and raises his ring finger. Now, before we begin, would any of you like to drop out? Asks Naruto. The genin stand and exchange glances, but Kabuto raises his hand. I'd like to withdraw. My body is completely exhausted, he claims. Anko approaches with a clipboard, which she hands to Naruto. It's no surprise you've taken the exams 7 times. You're a fucking wuss, she frowns. Don't be impolite to him. He is weak, but he is a fellow Konoha ninja, Naruto says as he surveys the remaining genin. Does anyone else want to quit like that excuse of a ninja? He continues. No matter your bloodline. I will kill you, Kabuto thinks as he leaves the testing area, a dark grin on his face. Well, since all of you are smarter than Kabuto, we can now begin the preliminary procedures, Naruto says. Wait a second, Anko says, turning Naruto's head and pulling down his hood, revealing black hair with a red streak. No fair, Anko, Kurenai rages as Anko moves Naruto's mask to face them and deeply kisses him in front of everyone. What's holding you back? Except for Panda and Karen, none of them realize it's Naruto, Anko responds. Holy shit, Konkuro exclaims. Kurenai moves from her jonin position and marches up to Naruto and Anko, pushing the latter aside and kissing Naruto herself. Kurenai-sensei? Exclaims Kiba. If you're quite finished. Kaiketsuki. Anko. Kurenai. We would like to begin the preliminaries, Hiruzen says, as Kakashi giggles and Asahina glares at Naruto. Anko replaces Naruto's mask and returns his attention to the group. Now, unlike the first 2 rounds, these will be individual one-on-one matches. We will have 10 matches because there are only 20 left, he says this while raising his right pinky, ring, and middle finger. You will fight until someone dies, collapses, or gives up, but if the person gives up, the match is over regardless of whether or not you go for the kill. Break that rule, and you'll pay the price. Naruto keeps going, dropping each finger. Naruto then raises his clipboard. The matches are listed below. Anbu chose them at random. So I'll start with the first match. If your name is not called, proceed to the upper area, he claims. The tension gradually builds as Naruto keeps them waiting for them to sweat. The first match is Ino Yamanaka versus Sasuke Uchiha, he declares, shocking Ino and Sakura. Sasuke grins internally but winces and clutches his neck. Easy win, he reasoned. Both of you step forward, Naruto declares, as the pair reluctantly do so. As Ino and Sasuke stand face to face, everyone begins to make their way to the upper levels, but Kakashi whispers something to Sasuke. Both combatants are ready, Naruto exclaims. Wait, I forfeit, says Ino. With a sigh, Naruto locks his visible eye on Ino. Why? Do you not want to advance? He was in the same forest as you. You might be able to pull off the upset, he claims. No way. I couldn't fight Sasuke-kun, Ino says, shaking his head. Sasuke Uchiha is a worthy winner. You can both ascend to the higher levels. Yamanaka, on the other hand, you should give up completely. You're a kunoichi of Konohagakure, not a spoiled princess hoping for a boy to save her. I hope you will watch the upcoming matches to see how the real kunoichi battle goes. While looking at his clipboard, Naruto states and clears his throat. The next match is Masumi Tsurugi vs. Kankuro Sabaku, announces Naruto. The Konoha rookies.
Why did you and that weirdo Proctor kiss that Anbu?
Kiba asks. Kurenai looks at her student and the other rookies as Kasashi takes Sasuke. He's my fianca copyright-e, and I share him with Anko, she says. Share him, Ino says, perplexed. Asuma scoffs quietly and turns his gaze to the fight as Masumi attempts to snap Kankuro's neck. He's in the CRA, our clan restoration agency. This enables a single male clan member to marry multiple women in order to repopulate his clan, he explains while hearing the snap. However, none of you realize it's someone your age, Asuma reasoned. Tenten was listening but her gaze was drawn to Naruto, and her thoughts had recently wandered to her dreams. No way you'd go for me then, she reasoned. Masumi exhales as clay fragments fall to the ground and Kankuro rotates his head 360 degrees to reveal a puppet face. A puppet! Exclaims Masumi. The wrapped parcel writhes as the true Kankuro appears and wraps its arms around Masumi until he collapses. Winner Kankuro Sabaku, announces Naruto. Kankuro grins and picks up his puppet, saying, I hope that impressed you, Proctor, but Naruto ignores him. As Naruto hears the rookies discussing Kankuro's abilities, Med Nin takes Masumi. The next match is Shino Aburame vs Zaku Abumi, says Naruto. As they walk down, Zaku simply smirks, but his gaze drifts to Naruto's mask, causing his breath to catch. That's the same mask, Zaku gnashed his teeth. Shino remains motionless as Zaku shifts his gaze between him and Naruto. Both fighters are ready. Begin, says Naruto, taking a step back. Given your injuries, you should retire, says Shino. I'm not as injured as you think, Zaku scoffs and raises his left arm with a smirk. Zanka, Zaku exclaims, launching a concussive blast of sound airwaves. Shino is engulfed and thrown end over end until he lands face down, shocking his teammates and fellow Konoha genin, or some of them.
Shino slowly rises to his feet with loud chittering noises as the smoke clears.
What? Zaku says as he looks around. Bee-bugs. They're bursting from inside his body? Thought Zaku as he noticed bugs emerging from various points on Shino's body. Hey! What are you attempting to accomplish? Zaku yells, but then gasps and looks back to see more bugs approaching from behind him. These insects are referred to as kakaichi. They attack in swarms and devour chakra in such quantities that your loss is guaranteed, Shino says, as Zaku grinds his teeth. If you attack me with your left, my kakaichi will attack you, and vice versa, Shino says, as Zaku smirks and pulls his right arm from his sling.
Then how about I use both?
Zaku exclaims, pointing both arms at Shino and his kakaichi. He. He caught you off guard by convincing you that his right arm was useless, Dosu pondered. Zaku begins, but his arms burst with blue chakra at the forearms, shocking many onlookers. I managed to sneak some onto you, Shino says, appearing behind him, as Zaku screams in pain. Shino connects with a back fist to the face of Zaku, sending him flying back to the ground. Naruto approaches and notices the significant damage to Zaku's arms. Zaku is unable to proceed. Shino Aburame is the winner, he asserts. As Naruto listens to Guy explain the Aburame clan to his students, Nin arrives to pick up Zaku. Let us begin the third match. Sakura Haruno vs. Karen Uzumaki, Naruto states. Sakura searches for Sasuke, but he has already left with Kakashi, while Karen makes her way down. Haruno, get down here or you'll be disqualified, yells Naruto. Sakura slowly descends as Karen waits for her. I want Sasuke-kun to keep an eye on me, Sakura says. So you can't fight if he's watching. Are you any different from Yamanaka? You're acting like a ninja. If you aren't, start now, Naruto says, while Sakura looks at him. She then turns her attention to Karen, thinking to herself, I bet if I beat her, Sasuke-kun will praise me, she reasoned as she reached into her pack. Sakura fires a dozen shuriken at Karen, but the redhead draws a kunai to block them, and the remaining shuriken hit her gloves but did not harm her. Sakura rushes Karen and creates 3 clones to confuse her, forgetting that Karen was a very skilled censor. Sweden. Mizuame Nabara, Karen says after weaving signs and coming to a halt at Tiger. Sakura steps right into a viscous amount of water thrown by Karen, catching her left leg and knocking her forward. What is this? Screams Sakura, catching herself with her right hand but trapping herself even more. During our mission, Sakura-san and I trained together for a month. Nonetheless, you did not even bother to change, Karen says as she steps behind Sakura, her hands outstretched. Karen says, Sweden, Sur no Jutsu, and the viscous water forms the water prison. Sakura struggles to keep her breath and quickly mouths her surrender, allowing Karen to release her. Winner Karen Uzumaki, announces Naruto. Oya Sakura fought, says Kakashi as he appears with a puff of smoke as Nin assists Sakura from the arena floor. Yeah, and she lost to Uzumaki, says Asuma. She displayed quite youthful skill, Guy remarks, and Kakashi casts a glance his way. You say something, Guy, Kakashi says, and Guy scoffs, muttering something about hip attitude. Shino comments, your teammate is skilled, as the rookies talk among themselves. We'll see if we ever fight, Hinata says, looking at Neji, who stares but looks away. She didn't even attend our graduation. How does she manage to be so powerful? According to Ino, she learned from her cousin, Tenten says, shocking some of them. Who is her cousin? Choji inquires. It's in her surname. Naruto is her cousin, Shikamaru expresses himself. Kankuro walks up to them and asks, so who's this Naruto character? Kiba scoffs. He was the dead last of our year, but he vanished 3 years ago and reappeared as a Chunin a few months ago, Kiba explains. Somehow, Ino adds his voice. Naruto should be someone to look up to. Yes, he was last, but he improved enough in 3 years to become a Chunin, Kurenai observes Naruto while the other proctors clean up Karen's jutsu. I bet I could beat him, Kiba says, and Akamaru barks, causing Kurenai to roll her eyes internally. Naruto would tear you apart, or Hana would do it for him, Kurenai reasoned. The next match is Tenten Higurashi vs. Temari Sabaku, Naruto says. Watch me Naruto, Tenten thought as they made their way down to the arena floor. If that pink thing is any indication of Konoha Kunoichi, then I'm not worried. Except for the Uzumaki and possibly the Hyuga, Temari pondered, her hand on her hip. Do your best, Tenten, Lee exhorts, as Guy joins him in cheering. Alright, the next match begins, Naruto exclaims. Tenten immediately widens the chasm between them, while Temari remains motionless. What? Do you intend to make a move after I do? However, it will be too late to respond. Unlike you girls pretending to be Kunoichi, I am the real deal, Tenten glares as Temari says. She leaps and throws a half-dozen shuriken, but Temari brushes them aside through unknown means. They failed. No, you use FTON, Tenten says, smirking at Temari. What if I do it? Are you scared now? In a mocking tone, Temari says. Calm down and don't let her rattle you, Tenten reasoned as he measured the space between them. Temari reaches for her fan, but Tenten leaps around her, a scroll unfurling around the Bunhair Kunoichi. Tenten yells, "Take this!" as weapons burst from the scroll. Tenten is almost completely unaware of Temari's movements as she lands with weapons scattered around her. No way! Tenten exclaims. This is the first star. If you see the third star, then this match is over, Temari says, holding her fan with a large purple circle visible. Don't give up, Tenten, Lee exclaims. Tenten closes her eyes to relax. Lee is someone I'm familiar with. I was saving this for the big fights, but now I'm forced to use it, she thought as she took out 2 scrolls. Tenten places both scrolls on the ground with her palms on them as Naruto looks on. Temari as an unfavorable opponent for you. Even using that in conjunction with your Raiden will fail, he pondered. SSHRY, Tenten exclaims, causing a massive burst of smoke. As Tenten leaps upward, the smoke rises to form 2 dragons, but the smoke dissipates to reveal the scrolls. Tenten unleashes a barrage of weapons, but Temari counters by spinning her fan to the second star and creating a wind vortex. Tenten lands on the ground, her weapons scattered, but she isn't done as she backflips into the air, using ninja string from her fingers to grasp her weapons. Tenten yells, Raiden! Rensa Kaminari, sending Raiden through her strings and electrifying her weapons. Temari is stunned for a moment, but smirks and swings her fan, knocking the weapons and Tenten away before landing with a skid on the ground. That was mildly impressive, but futile against me, Temari says, her fan now displaying all 3 of her fans. Tenten exhales as Temari vanishes and turns around. I'm right here, Temari says from behind her. FTON. Kamaitachi no Jutsu, Temari exclaims as she swings her fan wide. Tenten exhales as she is hit by a wind vortex that lifts her off the ground and cuts her on all sides. 10? Exclaims Lee. That wind has chakra embedded in it. Tenten will be unable to continue, Neji expresses himself. Tenten falls to the ground as the wind dies, only to land back first on Temari's closed fan, causing her to spit up blood. How dull. You can refer to it as vampire, Temari expresses himself. Winner. Temari Sabaku, Naruto declares as he approaches the pair. Temari pushes Tenten off her fan, but Naruto catches her. You've shown Kunoichi should be feared, he says. Without a doubt. Maybe you'll show me what's behind that mask, Temari inquires. Naruto takes a step back to hand Tenten over to the med nin. Sorry about that, little squirrel. My face is only visible to those who share my bed, he says this, and Temari scoffs as he returns to the upper levels. We'll now take a 10-minute break to clear the floor, says Naruto. What do you think so far? Asks Hiruzen. Naruto inserts his mask into the shadows of his hood before slipping in a cigarette and lighting it. So far, our kunoichi have performed poorly. Karen was saved, which isn't saying much because she didn't attend the academy, Naruto responds. Hiruzen sighs and turns to face the remaining genin. I would concur. I let the academy change me so much. Peace has changed us, he claims. You can't help yourself. Peace has reigned, and our swords have been slightly dulled, Naruto thinks. It's more likely that you could blame the civilian council. They made the academy easy for their children to pass, and those old fossils left out anything that would put them off. Seduction. What we ninjas actually do. Having their hands bloodied, Anko says as she takes a puff on Naruto's cigarette. How long will you keep them alive, old man? Asks Naruto, as Hiruzen sighs. They are people I've known for the majority of my life. It is not easy to make such a decision, Hiruzen claims. That is why Sensei made the wrong decision. Because of your gentle nature, I've been able to work in the shadows, says a very familiar voice. Hiruzen looks up, a cold expression on his face. Don't do that, he says. Gramps, I'm sorry, but he's kinda right. Danzo was able to keep his dark secrets because you were gentle with him. The snake is the same way. Jiraiya, too, says Naruto. I won't deny it, but, Hiruzen says, shaking his head. I get it, Naruto says, looking at Anko's watch. Well, let's keep going, he says, vaulting the railing and landing in a crouch. Okay, genin. The following match pits Hinata Hyuga against Yoroi Akado, Naruto yells. Hinata walks down calmly, as does Yoroi, who also walks down calmly. Both fighters are ready. Begin, says Naruto. Hinata activates her Byakugan with a ram sign before slipping into her clan's Juken strike. Yoroi narrows his eyes and remains on edge, but Hinata charges forward, forcing him to block her strikes, which he fails to do. I see you gathering chakra to your hands, but it's pointless in front of my eyes, Hinata says. Yoroi jerks as Hinata unleashes a barrage of strikes, each one closing his tenketsu points and knocking him back. It's all over. He refuses to get up, Hinata says, but her breath catches when she sees Naruto's chakra. Winner Hinata Hyuga, announces Naruto. Hinata slowly returns to the upper levels, a shocked expression on her face. Naruto, is this Kaiketsuki? She wondered. So, why was he assigned to our team? Could he have been an Anbu? Hinata considered this while looking at Naruto. The next match is Shikamaru Nara vs Kinsuchi, announces Naruto. Mendokase, Shikamaru thought as he walked down. Begin, says Naruto. Shikamaru begins with his shadow paralysis, but Kin avoids it by tossing two senbon with bells attached. Bells, he thought back. Classic tactics of using the bells to distract from the hidden senbon, says Shikamaru, and Kin smirks, tossing more as Shikamaru dodges. Shikamaru, on the other hand, freezes as the bells ring and looks only to see the senbon in the wall, also attacked by strings. It's too late, Kin says as he catches Shikamaru with two senbon. Shikamaru pulls them out of his arms but freezes as his vision blurs. W this? What's he says, collapsing to his knees. Ha ha ha. That's what happens when people hear my bells. These special bells produce a sound vibration. It directly attacks the brain from the eardrum, causing one to hallucinate, Kin says as Shikamaru covers his ears. You can't get away from this, she continues as multiple versions of herself appear. Damn it. Which is the real one? Shikamaru exclaimed as senbon pierced his arms and shoulder. Kin was about to toss another senbon when her body seizes and moves slowly. What? She asks. Kagemane no jutsu success, Shikamaru says as he slowly rises to his feet. How? Kin responds. Shikamaru smirks slightly and looks to her string, causing the shadow to expand, causing Kin to gasp. Shikamaru raises his right hand, as does Kin, as they toss shurikens, but as Shikamaru ducks back, Kin slams her head into the wall and knocks herself out. Winner by knockout. Shikamaru Nara, says Naruto, checking on Kin. Let's see, all that's left is me, that sand guy, Choji, Lee, Neji, and that sound guy, Kiba reasoned. The next match is Kiba Inuzuka vs Dosu Kinuta, says Naruto. Yes. It's our turn, crows Kiba and barks Akamaru. This won't take too long, Dosu thinks as he makes his way down. Kiba takes Akamaru's coat from him as Dosu stands with a hunched stance. Begin, yells Naruto. Kiba smirks and lowers his stance. Let's go Akamaru, he exclaims. Beast mimicry. All fours jutsu. Kiba yells, his features turning feral. Kiba charges at Dosu, but he blocks his strike with his melody arm, causing him to grin at the feral boy. Bad move, says Dosu, channeling his chakra. Kiba jerks and leaps as a wave of sound erupts around him, knocking him back with a skid, but his legs give out. Dosu rushes towards Kiba as he recovers and hits him in the head with his melody arm, turning his eyes white and causing blood to flow from his ears. Call it, says Dosu as Akamaru rushes to Kiba's side. Kiba is unable to continue. Dosu Kinuta is the winner, Naruto declares. Kiba rushed in without thinking, says Kurenai. What a moron, says Ino. Big talk from someone who never fought, Hinata remarks as Mednin rushes to check on Kiba. Oh man. There are still strong people, Choji says quietly. The next match is Choji Akamichi vs Neji Hyuga, Naruto announces, and Choji freezes, his gaze fixed on the former Rookie of the Year. I forfeit, Choji exclaims, surprising his teammates. HMPH, he's smarter than he appears, Neji remarks. Naruto sighs, but he could see Choji's reasoning. Alright. The final match is between Rock Lee and Gaara Sabaku, he asserts. Lee roars, Yosh, it's my turn, with fire in his eyes. As Lee rushes down, Gaara stares blankly and makes his way down via sand shunshin. Fighters ready, Naruto exclaims, signaling the start of the fight. Quite rude, Lee says as he slips into Goken stance and catches Gaara's cork. Lee drops the cork and rushes towards Gaara, leaping into a spin and shouting, Konoha Senpai, connecting with a kick but hitting a wall of sand. Lee lands and quickly backpedals as the sand tries to drag him along the ground. The sand almost seems alive, Lee observed. He rushes towards Gaara with a series of punches and kicks, but the sand reacts to each one, forcing him to use a kunai to swipe at the sand. Lee continues to dodge as the sand follows him, forcing him to leap upward and toss several shuriken, but the sand reacts and blocks as he lands. Entertain me more, Lee says, narrowing his eyes. This is insufficient. I require more blood, as the sand rushes towards Lee and grabs him as he leaps, Gaara says. Lee grunts as he collides with a wall thrown by the sand and quickly dodges more of it. This is similar to Tenten's battle. Gaara is the wrong kind of opponent for Lee. He can't use ninjutsu, Naruto thought, but then looked at Guy, but I'm sure Guy taught him that. He pondered. Lee lands on the stone hands, a serious expression on his face. This will be very difficult, he thinks. Lee. Take them off, yells Guy. But you said to only do that if I needed to protect many people, Lee says to his sensei, and Guy gives him the thumbs up. Yosh, I'll be able to move so much more freely, Lee says as he rolls down his leg warmers to reveal leg weights. You think taking some weights off will help? Tamari wondered, but gawked as the weights shattered the ground in a big dust-up. Everyone except Naruto was stunned by the display. Now that is too much, he thought. Go Lee! Shouts Guy, and Lee vanishes. Lee appears in front of Gaara with a right through his sand, but then vanishes, blitzing him from all sides as the sand can't keep up. Temari and Kankuro both gasp as Gaara strikes him in the cheek before being blitzed and knocked away. This is bad, Temari reasoned. Lee gasps as sand falls from the redhead's face, revealing a wide and sadistic grin as Gaara slowly rises to his feet as sand continues to pool around him. So he covered himself in sand as armor, thought Naruto. Lee removes the bandages from his hands before disappearing and kicking Gaara upwards with a series of kicks. Impressive, many people thought. Lee screams in agony as Gaara's armor breaks and wraps him in bandages before grabbing him and spinning him to the ground. Lee yells, "Omit Renge," crashing them into the ground and creating a medium-sized spider web crack. I got him, Lee says as he leaps out of the smoke as it clears to reveal Gaara lying motionless. Naruto approaches, smirking as Gaara crumbles into sand, causing the Konoha Genin to gasp in surprise. The sand rises behind Lee, revealing Gaara, who laughs darkly as the sand attacks Lee, knocking him around several times. Lee is almost at his limit. I'm curious if he'll use it, Naruto considered, and could Guy explain things to the Genin. Lee continues to dodge with heavy breathing as Gaara licks his lips with a sinister expression on his face. Such meaningless movements, Gaara sneers, hurling his sand and Lee into the ground. The sand forms a fist, but Lee begins to dodge Gaara's attack, causing Naruto to smirk behind his mask. So he did teach you that, Naruto thought, hearing Lee's ability to open 5 gates. Ufufufu, show me your medal, Rock Lee, he thought. Lee crosses his arms over his chest as the air around him seems to heat up, his skin turning red and blue chakra wafting off his body. Hachiman, Simon. Kai, Lee thought, the ground cracking up around him.
Lee's pupils are no longer visible as the ground cracks and pieces lift off the ground, but he lowers his stance. Hachiman, Shimon.
Kai, he thinks. As Lee charges forward, Naruto activates his Sharingan, shattering the ground and kicking Gaara in the chin. As dust rises in a forming cloud, the air around them is violently disturbed, and Gaara emerges above, his sand armor cracking more and more. Where is Lee? Exclaims Ino. Lee appears above Gaara with a punch, causing a small shockwave, before reappearing behind her with more minor shockwaves. Lee attacks Gaara from all sides, using the walls and ceiling as springboards. What? My sand armor is being ripped away. Gaara exclaimed, pinballing between Lee's attacks. Naruto's eyes narrowed as he could hear Lee's muscles tearing with each movement. Fool to go this far, he thought. Hachiman. Toman. Kai, Lee thought as he opened the 5th gate, blood streaming down his nose. Lee closes in on Gaara, and his eyes widen. It is impossible to defend myself. Is he even human? He pondered. Lee vanishes and strikes Gaara in the stomach, knocking him to the arena floor, but he nearly folds backwards as Lee pulls him back with his bandages. Take note, Neji. I had been saving this for you. Look at it now and what's to come, Lee pondered. Lee yells, Ura Renge, and connects with a punch and kick. The ground trembles as both land, kicking up dust and debris that causes everyone to cover their eyes. The dust cloud slowly dissipates as Lee approaches Gaara, who is lying on a sandbed. Gaara slowly reaches out his hand with gritted teeth as the sand moves, causing Lee to try to move, but his body is in excruciating pain. As Lee tries to move, the sand creeps closer and closer. I forfeit, Lee yells. Gaara ignores Lee's pleas and continues with his sand, but Naruto appears in the path. The match is over. Enough, Naruto says. Not until I kill him, Gaara hisses as he slowly rises to his feet. Didn't you hear my rules earlier? If I called the match, it's over, but if you break that rule, it's over, Naruto says as he begins to leak his ki. Gaara clutches his head as a voice begs him to kill Naruto, but their sensei Baki appears behind him. Enough, Gaara, he says. You should keep your genin on a leash, Naruto says, clearing his throat. All of Genin's victories are over, he continues. As Hiruzen stands behind them, Anko and Ibiki approach Naruto and stand on either side of him. Congratulations on making it through to the final round of the Chunin exams. I return to the shadows and return to Lord Third. Do your best to entertain us, Naruto says as he disappears before their eyes. As Kaiketsuki stated, I will now explain the rules for the third and final round of Chunin exams, Hiruzen says. Tenten slowly opens her eyes but groans in pain. Where am I? She asks, looking around but recalling her defeat at the hands of Temari. Temari was a bad opponent for you, muses a voice. Tenten groans as he slowly rises to see Naruto emerge from the shadows, wearing his Anbu mask but removing it. What did I miss? Tenten wonders. Neji got a forfeit win over Choji, and Lee lost to Gaara. Naruto responds as he takes a seat. Lee even used the gates and ripped his muscles, but he still lost. You seem to be a bad opponent, he continues. Guy-sensei must be upset about Lee, Tenten sighs, gritting her teeth. He is.
Lee ripped himself apart and will be out of commission for a long time, says Naruto.
Tenten examines the bandages on her body before turning to Nagu. So what will you do now? He asks. I'm not sure, Tenten says. Perhaps bite the forbidden apple, says Naruto, waving his hand and holding an apple. Forbidden apple raises intriguing questions. Naruto takes a slow bite of the apple and swallows it. Do you remember the conversation we had at your parents' shop about my bloodline? He asks. Tenten says, I didn't say anything, and Naruto grins. But you believed it, and yes, my bloodline can be passed down to others. In fact, I've given it to 4 people. Tenten narrows her eyes as Naruto says. Tenten says, that Proctor and Kurenai-sensei, and Naruto smiles. Kiba's older sister and an Anbu named Neko are also present. They were all familiar with my mother, Tenten gasps as Naruto explains, the whites of his eyes turning black. His blue eyes begin to glow, and he opens his mouth to reveal 2 rows of razor-sharp teeth. Panda, I'm no longer human. I am a creature that haunts men's dreams. I've turned into the demon that the matrons used to call me. I gained power, however, as the no-life Duke bestowed upon me by the man who gave me the last of his life, he claims. Tenten looks at Naruto with flickering dark eyes, and the blonde simply smiles. I also know about the dreams, he says, and her breath hitches. My queens have been haunting your dreams and directing you to this point. Where you might ask that question. I don't blame them, but I'd rather not force someone to do this, Naruto says, pausing to meet her gaze. If you eat the forbidden apple, you will gain power, but you will no longer be a member of Team Guy. You were unable to stay with your parents. You'd notice them. Guy, Lee, and Neji as your next course, Naruto continues. The room quickly falls silent, with only Tenten's breathing for company. She begins, but Naruto covers her mouth with his right hand. Consider the month. Please do not eat this forbidden apple. Thoughtlessly. Set aside your fantasies. Set the words aside. If you want to have real power, this is the place to be, Naruto says as he pulls his hand away from him, rising to his feet. Naruto bites the apple again as he returns to the shadows, highlighting his glowing blue eyes. Will you live as a human or live as a monster? He asks, disappearing into the shadows and leaving Tenten alone.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.